We obviously had some mic problems there. We're getting started later than usual, which is usually late anyway.
Yes.
So welcome to the Open Door Poetry Evening. It's a little noisy in here for the heater, but I figured the heat would be nice, so we'll just keep the speakers up loud and I'll have to adjust. Does it sound okay? Can you hear me? Is that okay in the back? All right. Let's see. Well, I'll just start this one with the old regular one and get the room warmed up. Some people have clean heroes like Superman or G.I. Joe, but why I look up to winos, I don't think I'll ever know. I see the man who's lost his home because of his drunken spree, but the bubbles and the thick white foam will always be sacred to me. Like the cowboy sitting at the bar trying to drown his blues, listening to a steel guitar. He's lost in a sea of booze. And my heroes' goals may not be great. They may not fight or kill, but they control their own fate. And what they know is real. They may not strive, they may not try or really give a damn, because all they know is they're alive, thanks to fear and spam. So as I stagger through this life, chasing every swallow, I'll never forget the men of strife, the winos I have followed. All right, take your bartender. Couple things I want to go over. Open mic, we generally say try to keep it at 4 minutes or less if you can. Something I need to do, I'm going to remind you. Let's all turn our cell phones off or on silent. It can be disruptive. We're here for the poetry. I got some announcements coming up later on, so there'll be a few things we'll talk about. But in the meantime, without any further ado, I would like for you all to please welcome our first poet of the evening, Allison Cox. Come on up. Oh, Aiden. I just saw it. I don't have it. I saw it a minute ago. Aiden Cox. Come on up. Sorry.
Much better. Okay, now this is one I wrote just this morning, and I've been trying to get a metal sound right, but it might just sound like a wooden door. I don't know, but I'm gonna try. Walking along in the midnight, you hear a noise that brings you fright. It sounds like metal being dragged across the ground. Is this the final sound I'll hear tonight, here in the midnight fright? Is this the sound to bring me to my knees? Is this the sound I cannot see? The one to bring my ears to bleed, the one to bash my head open and discover my brain. Dear Lord, make it swift, for I don't want to feel the pain. Dear Lord, make it soundless, for the sound kills me slowly. I can feel the sound cracking my bones one by one. Please, Lord, make my end be now, or make my end be never. For if not now, and if I am to hear this sound forever, I may as well be dead. The more I walk, the louder it gets, screeching my name. Tim. Tim. I'm coming, Tim. With every breath I take, it becomes faster, and my legs cannot run, for the sound has them shivering, shaking so badly they can hardly walk. But now I feel breath down my neck, like it's trying to rip out my spine. Oh God, please end my pain. Pull my spine, end the noise. Pull my spine, end the noise. Pull my spine, end the noise. But alas, I am meant to live my life walking this earth with that sound screeching to the very end, if there even is an end.
All right. I have right here the sign-up sheet. It will be here at the table with me if you'd like to sign up. I'd like to show you guys our little cards that we have. These are our business cards. If you would like some, take it. But one of the things that we're encouraging people to do, because we are the Johnson City Poets Collective, we're preserving and we're trying to bring poetry back to life. We're crafting words, creating community, igniting creativity. We're working on becoming a non-profit, and that means one of the most important things is just kind of advertising and getting out there. I'll make a few other announcements along the way, but I wanted to tell you one of the things that we did, and the beautiful Bailey put this together really nicely for us. There's a little picture of Johnson City in an aerial view, but then we put some lines here for some short poems or haikus. Hey, that rhymes. What we're encouraging people to do is to, when you take these cards and you have a nice little quick poem, write something down, and then take a photo of it, and then how do they send it to us? Just put it on the Facebook page?
Yeah, share it with our Facebook.
Share it with the Facebook page, and what we hope to do is get a whole bunch of these little short poems that people have taken these cards and written on, and it could be pretty good eventually with that. So they're up here as well. Come get a couple of them if you would. All right, moving right along, our next poet of the evening. Let's all give a big round of applause for Janice Hornberg. Come on up.
Yes, that'll be fine. Before I get started, I have an announcement from the Northeast branch of the Poetry Society of Tennessee. We are putting together a contest and anthology. The first prize is $150, the second prize is $75, and the third is $50. I have placed several of these on the sign-up table, and I cordially invite all poets to submit to our contest. You've got a great chance of winning. We don't have a huge number of entries yet. That's not to say that, that you need a loaded field to win, but we would certainly like to have your entries in our contest. And the judges are going to be Warren Harris and Rita Quillen. All right, the first poem or two poems that I would like to read tonight have to do with the election. And in the aftermath of all of the nasty ads and the folderol, I'm going to poke my finger at both sides, and we will start with liberals. She could have caught the red line from the airport, but then she'd have to haul leather luggage from the train station past that homeless flock congregated under the overpass. And even though she donates old coats and blankets, serves up turkey and mashed potatoes both Thanksgiving and Christmas, she had to admit she's afraid of being robbed, so she took a taxi. He could have bought a renovated bungalow or lived in downtown loft carved out of warehouse space. But although he marches for maintenance of old-growth trees and speaks out for the spotted owl, he wanted space. So he built 6,000 square feet of luxury on a raised hillside in enchanted forest estates. She could have bicycled to Whole Foods Market, but then she'd have to come uphill, bike's basket packed with recyclable bags of certified organic asparagus and artichokes, picked by migrant Mexicans for dollars a day, then freighted fresh from California. So she drove the Beamer. And anyway, she needed to stop by the cleaners to pick up her earth-toned linen suit before jetting off tomorrow to an exclusive showing of an inconvenient truth. So now we're going to twist it for the conservatives. He could have followed the footsteps of Jesus, loved scoundrels, the poor, the sick. But when a young man confessed his secret, condemned him sodomite and sinner, quoted the mandate for marriage, one man and one woman, then, forgetting what would Jesus do, returned to tryst with the organist. He could have asked why small government keeps hands off big business while poking fingers into bedroom and classroom. But his investment portfolio was bloated with oil and pharmaceuticals, and he'd be damned if he'd vote for a tax and spend socialist whom he would have blackballed at White Lily Country Club. So his deep pocket donation went to the party of no. She could have thought for herself, questioned why more school shootings call for more guns. But after years of O'Reilly and Limbaugh and Hannity, she fears the misbegotten Muslim in the White House, believes in conspiracy theory, but not in climate change or evolution. So she homeschools 6 children and keeps a Ruger handy to do unto others before they do unto her. And now for the last one. It's so cold tonight, we want to think of Florida. So this one is titled Old Florida, about an old abandoned church. At Trail's End, the abandoned steeple rises from second-growth forest, a hymn to the landscape. Soughing breeze strokes treebeard Spanish moss, baptizes resurrection fern shrouding rotting rafters, susurrates from weathered pulpit where marsh wren now intones the preacher's sing-song cadence. Ancestors' lively voices once raised this roof in celebration of birth, salvation, marriage, and death. Dinners on the grounds reverberate alto murmurs of childbirth and sickness, gossiped around tables set with heaping platters of hush puppies and catfish. Baritone confab of weather and fishing rumbled beside rusty pickups. Soprano laughter pealed from marble rings and hopscotch courts, stick-scribed on sandy loam. Mills shut, fields fallow, congregations scattered, save those churchyard planted under swaying sedge and bunch grass. Wind plays washboard on saw palmetto fronds, shading tumbled gravestones, shadowing my name. The veil between seen and unseen shimmers like heat waves. Watery mirage, shining like a mirror, waiting to be filled with my face.
That was great. I love the part about the evolution. Do you still hear that buzz?
Yes.
Let me try something really quick.
Well, why'd you do it?
Could give us a warning.
At least you can hear us though.
I think the heater turned off.
It did.
Yes, drum roll please. Let me tell you this going along. This one time at band camp.
We don't want to hear your lies.
Well, that might not work.
We can live with the feedback.
All right, we'll have to.
Oh.
Close your ears for a second. You're not supposed to do this. Still there, isn't it? I think it's in this mic. It is, isn't it? Did it go away?
Yeah.
No. Maybe.
I mean, it's tiny.
It's in the mic.
You should just stand there and hold it.
Just like this. Will people be uncomfortable if I'm...
Yeah.
You'd be in the shot.
Oh, hey, hey.
Don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
Don't touch it.
Even if
Okay.
it's big, don't touch it.
So, all right, everybody very calmly. Let's introduce our next poet. Big round of applause for Sharon Mishler Fox. Come on. I have the sign up sheet right here. Is the height okay?
Yes, that'll work.
All right.
I have been working on putting together a collection of poems called Bad Dates and Other Adventures. So the first 2 fall in the bad dates category. The second is very much a draft that I've just been working on today. And the third is of a different nature. So first, Mixed Fruit, Still Life. I sliced the skirt of the voluptuous pale green Bartlett pear, leaving the crisp fabric in shredded ribbons that reveal curved ivory hips. I take 2 red orbs from my icebox. No doubt they would not taste as sweet to my tongue as Mr. Williams' purloined plums, and arrange them carefully near the stem of the pear. Not quite satisfied, I add 2 juicy red raspberries, strategically placed. I drape a large scrap of moss green satin over the lower edge, suggesting the luxurious sheets you want to see. Camera settings carefully chosen, I produce a portrait with soft, sensual shadows in the right places. I mail the photo to you, since you requested a naked self-portrait after only emailing 2 sentences to me. And the second one that is very much a draft is Charles Manson will marry. Charles Manson will marry the gal who's been sweet on him so long that she moved across the country, across her world, to camp out near his California prison cell the last decade, imprisoning herself in the way only a dewy-eyed 17-year-old can dream fantasies, delude herself, renaming, becoming the star of his life, the star who thinks, despite his admissions of guilt, he is somehow innocent. Plenty of people choose prison bars, this world of doomed romances, lives that turn from love into 20-plus year life sentences. They beg for freedom, dreaming that someone might love them enough to tattoo, flower-circled, their name on a well-muscled bicep, not a forehead X. Not a publicity stunt marriage that will never be consummated, and at most will bring 5-hour weekend visits. They long for love, companionship. If I wanted a serial killer to love me, or someone to treat me badly, testosterone-laden, a self-centered bastard, I could marry someone from Match.com. For surely, among the people who pretend they are macho lovers, sensitive, sweet fellows, there's a serial killer looking to knife someone slowly the rest of her life.
That was fantastic.
Thank you. And the third is called Pantoum for Winter. Winter trees, bare bones drum my window. Outside, white, gray, and black dim the landscape. Warmth dwells only in our hearth, our hearts. Chill slithers into crevices like a serpent. Outside, white, gray, and black dim the landscape. Flames flicker from the fireplace. Chill slithers into crevices like a serpent. We hold hands, kiss, share passion's heat. Flames flicker from the fireplace. Red, orange, and yellow echo leaves long fallen. We hold hands, kiss, share passion's heat. Love starts in the season of endings. Red, orange, and yellow echo leaves long fallen. Warmth is found only in our hearts. Love starts in the season of endings. Winter trees, bare bones drum my window.
I think it reset itself.
Oh.
When I was messing with the sound, I thought it was nice.
No.
Should kick back on.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
All right. Sorry it's so cold in here. That was wonderful. Are you guys friends with the Poets Collective?
On Facebook.
Would you, yeah, please be our friend.
Don't beg, you sound like someone on that.
no. Maybe on MASH. He's like, right again, Frank. One of my favorite lines on MASH is when Father Mulcahy has a list. He's going to Tokyo, and he says, oh, I got this list of some things. You guys would like to add something? He says, the strangest thing is Klinger wants a training bra. He says, obviously there's some holes in my education. What exactly is a training bra? And Hawkeye says, oh, it's pretty much like the other ones, except it has 2 little wheels in the back. All right, now give a big round of applause for our next poet, Allison Cox.
I have to sign up sheet.
This might not work for me.
Play with fire.
Don't touch it! Don't touch it! Don't touch it! Don't touch it! If you touch it, that's what I'm gonna kick you in the shin.
Mom, stop being so vicious. Jesus.
Okay, I didn't touch it.
So fine.
Yeah, you should know that by now. I haven't written anything in a while, but I've got this thing around in my head, so I'm just gonna spit it out and see where it goes. And then I'm gonna actually read you one that I wrote. This one in my head is called The Best Part of My Day. The best part of my day is not when I brush your blonde locks behind your ear. The best part of my day is not when you look at me with your ice blue eyes with such acceptance and trust, knowing that anything you need, I have. The best part of my day is not when we eat lunch together and you eat off of my plate and help me feed the dog. The best part of my day is not when we explore the space that we are with together and you show me things with newfound wonder and it's like I'm a child again. The best part of my day is when you fuckers go to sleep. Thank you. Okay, for real now. This is called I Am. It's actually a visual poem, but you can't see it, so I'm just going to read it. I began from a hesitant step taken by a poor girl from the wrong side of the tracks, whose soul believed in the hope of a better life. She saw in the reflection of sand against his grass-green eyes, whose heart was shattered when the silver spoon won the war of his love. I grew from the thick smell of aging words on yellow paper, hiding mystery and truth, pain, broken promises and broken bones, uncertainty and shame, anger and death, and daddy no. I became a tree solitary on an island, lonely, surrounded and strengthened by the vast ocean of friendship and love. I end, embracing love of all things, great and small, with a whisper and not a shout, with my own grass-green eyes filled with forgiveness and acceptance, knowing that every voice is important, every voice should be heard, every voice has its own truth and story to tell. I end welcoming them all. Even the little fuckers that won't go to sleep.
I thought at one point you were going to say the best part of my day is not when I forget the line of a poem.
Yeah. Had I been quicker on my feet, right?
It was beautiful though. It worked out well.
Thank you.
Except when you did.
All right. I was going to tell you guys a joke about Ebola, but you probably won't get it. Coming up next, let's give a big round of applause for our next poet, Damian Carpenter. Come on up.
So far, that mom has stayed away. Is that good?
Yeah, that's fine. This first poem is called Impressionistic Noir, and it's an ekphrastic poem, Cézanne painting called The Murder. Could be the cover of a 1930s hard-boiled detective pulp, or a 1940s film noir movie poster. Story opens. Close up. Two heads, one driving, one passenger. Heads in gravel rhythm, we see no face. A thump in the trunk, a muffled scream. Car stops. Riverbank. The woman struggles, the men drag her. One head bowed, holds her down. You cannot see his face. Other head thrust. Raised knife terrific, still, impending. You cannot see his face. The woman melts. Violent terror. She can see his face. Scene cuts. Sweet-talking secretary. You have a visitor. Detective hat in hand walks into office. Long legs, cigarette glow, smoke shroud face. Hello, miss. I have a job for you, mister. Could have been one hell of a hard-boiled story, but no, this is much darker than any film noir. Never resolved, blank faces in dark night, poison terrific rigid terror, beauty terror, truth terror, silence terror. How dark it must have been to paint Provence and Mont Saint-Victoire in North. The second poem is called Meatball Saturday, and it's for Carmen Donato. 3 pounds of ground beef, breadcrumbs, mysterious spices and seasons, bowl of extra virgin olive oil, bowl of red wine vinegar, and his 2 hands conducting the early Saturday symphony as I forget about my cartoons to get a table level view of the chunky, meaty masterpieces being made. It was the same thing every Saturday. It was the same ingredients, the same darting hands with rolled up sleeve forearms. It was always the same perfect collage of hands, meat, oils, and seasons. But every year the table level view faded further toward the ground with a downward tilt of the chin. Then came Saturdays I sat with him, tried to imitate the fluid darting movement of his hands, grabbing a hunk of meat and cupping my hands with a back and forth muted slap of wormy strands that always seemed to crumble in a heap. Look, he said, you have to dip your fingers in the oil, then the vinegar. And he bellowed some Italian song that I didn't understand but felt, and I tried harder. I watched his fingers dip into the liquids and imagined his fingers dipping into the dirt to barehand a ground ball. Watched it roll into his palm and sail to first in one fluid motion, like when you played semi-pro. When he kneaded the beef, I saw those rainy days, his fingers sunk in the mud on the line of scrimmage, while the leather-headed quarterback barked audibles. And I continued to think about these things, even when he was wheelchair, then bedridden. I saw it in his eyes when he had enough strength to ask how my team was doing. Even in his coffin, I could see the 5'5" man who stood taller than any man I ever knew, with his dust in the nose, hazy days, with glove and cap, and nitty-gritty autumn afternoons in the trenches, with crooked nose and grin, and always, always, those meatball Saturdays I spent with him. Thank you.
All right, oh, this thing. We don't have a lot on the list tonight. We're kind of a small crowd. You mind if I read one? Yeah, you do mind? Of course. Maybe I'll just tell you one. I don't always rhyme. Sometimes I do. The one I did earlier I rhymed, but it's kind of a rare thing. But this one was kind of my Edgar Allan Poe Annabelle Lee poem, and I worked really hard with the rhyming of it. So you can let me know what you think, all right? Time is as distant as the click of the instant that she appeared to me, and nothing remained even close to the same except for the tides of the sea. So I sailed on, and she knows that I'm gone, but somehow that brought her glee. And there's no one left here to reflect in my tears, because the only one left is me. Now, it all got started the day I departed that little town in Tennessee, and I don't know why I never said goodbye the day I planned to leave. And she never knew what I had to do to conquer an enemy that was sword and with blade, a lonely life I made, because the only one left is me. But I headed back to that rundown shack where we lived in poverty, and there was nothing left there but a length of her hair that she cut in agony, and the smell from the smoke from the letters I wrote that she burned in agony. And I stood so alone in our broken down home, because the only one left is me. Now the past is behind, and I forget sometimes that broken hearts aren't free. And my only reminder is the hope that I'll find her, though I know it'll never be. Because the things that I've done should have never begun, and dreams aren't reality. And then I woke up cold with no one to hold, because the only one left is me. All right, thank you. A rhyming poem by the beer poet. Here in just a second, I'm going to show you a funny magic trick, if you guys want to see it. However, moving right along, let's give a big round of applause for our next poet, and I hope I'm reading this right. Rippy Moore, come on up. See if I can make this smaller without...
I'm going to read two poems tonight. And if I read tonight, can I enter these? Okay. I don't want to disqualify because I don't have much.
We're not the judges.
The first one is called "The Night the Rain Laid Back." The night the rain laid back like it had been working every time all week. I went to refill the laying mash for my birds. I heard wild dogs again from complicated copses. They said, over here, over and over, like a rock descending the mountain to the cove. I was frightened. Then I remembered that Jimmy had said, I will go ahead. The winter is the friend of a friend. I must meet again at a party of acquaintances. He hurried in with jokes about me and shook my hand like I should be hurting. We tried to remember each other for a third time until he looked out the window and left off for the barn. Before its pale disfigurement, it wore the pattern of generations. I was astonished till I remembered how Jimmy had said, I will go ahead. Snow melted off the drip by drop, 8 inches in a night with 2 days goodbye. It wheezed off the back porch with a frustrated sigh. He mightn't sit and wait for them thick shadows to die, only to find the shadows could move. A myth make a start that had to be proved. A hope that needed some help, a love that wanted love to begin with, or something besides a conjugal visit. The winter reminds me of Jimmy. Something about the quiet, cold, and waiting. The patience of leaves that are known to shift with a crow's shadow, the steady lurch of the headwaters. Daddy said Jim kept his people's fire 7 families old. He would riddle the winter and devil the cold. I found my way home from the coop, above brine and somehow in it, with the wind climbing, tomato plants' sick leaves like slick tenebrous rags clap my legs. Autumn leaves scratch the ground beneath my feet, my boots echoing a vanished snow, the color of dip spit on an open Oreo. Heavy for sleep, aiming for the bed where my wife warmed the sheets. I remembered that before they built the lake, Jimmy had said, if they raise this creek, I will go ahead. This is a newer one, so hasn't undergone a whole lot of editing yet. My feet are worn through their soles. My feet are worn through their soles, and my gun is wet. Whatever I had, I gave, and my hills are still slave. Barry said his papa traversed over many bridges just to dig his own grave. Then he said, who would do a thing like that? It makes you wonder awful hard to imagine a country where the soil's not scarred. It makes you slap your leg and cry, I'll be, and even if for a moment you're free. And it's a wonder that my feet have been scored by crooked furrows and old fields, only to keep moving like a man running for his life. Like a man who knew the answer but couldn't be asked twice. And what's so bad about running for your life? But I'm not him just wondering if I was. And what's so bad about a man who knew the answer, assuming he had? But I'm certainly not he. Nor is the runner, I might add. Truth be told, I'd like to run away from death, but who wouldn't? But I'd not tell my lender that. So I ran around the kitchen, but that worked on my patience and didn't get me out. I even circled the barn real fast with a trumpet in my hand, but never could bring myself to shout. I wouldn't want Elijah's barn walls to crumble anyhow. Though it's leaning hard, might fall any day now. His horse wouldn't even go inside that early snow we had, I think, 2 years ago. What's so wrong with letting the barn fall? Nobody does it anyway. But I'm not the man running from death. But saying I was, where could I get a new pair of boots? And where would someone go to do something like that?
Awesome, man. Have you been to this before? Once. Well, welcome back. And like us on, you know about the collective on Facebook?
Yeah.
All right, good deal. Well, that was killer. Okay, speaking of the collective, this is one of the people that's worked the hardest about putting our website together, and she is a great friend of mine, a beautiful poet, beautiful person. Let's all give a big round of applause for Bailey Buckner.
It's very cold. I have 5 layers on. I'm still freezing. So a poem called The Wilds of Winter. The Indian summer sun fell upon the heavy blue divan, waiting for the autumn sky to pick it up again as the grass swayed and moved with the bellowing fall wind. It was only in the minute details that we noticed the late autumn cracks, the quiet murmurs of the leaves on the trees, and the little stars of frost in the window pane at dawn. Even the sound of restless motors trying to find their weary way on the cool gray streets hinted of colder months to come. But the afternoons were warm and comforting. Breezes whispering wonderful lies convinced us that opening all the windows was wise. Despite the predictions to which we didn't listen, like a lover whose fingers tracing our figures convince us of their permanence, summer caressed and nibbled in the late months of the year. And just as we began to believe, despite the falling leaves, that he was going nowhere, every star in the sky seemed to give way, plummeting like diamonds from the stratosphere and crashing wildly against this frozen land and these freezing lakes. The city was lost under piles of glittering rubble, and we were lost among the roads that made up this concrete tundra. Like the loveless mistresses we now were, we advanced through the silver streets, bewildered and unprepared for the storm of which we had been warned.
Right. Very nice. Hey, what is it we're working on? If people would like to donate to make it a nonprofit?
GoFundMe.com.
GoFundMe.com. And how would we get there?
You can go to our Facebook.
Just find it on the Facebook page. But we're trying to become a nonprofit, which will kind of give us a lot more, a little more power to do things, such as we want to put together some anthologies. In just a second, actually, coming up next, there's a gentleman that's going to talk about maybe doing a memorial for a poet. There's a lot of things we want to kind of get going, and once we become a nonprofit, we'll have a lot more opportunity to do that. Scholarships for different people in poetry. So, I'm going to let him mention that if he would, but let's all give a big round of applause for our next poet, good friend of mine, Scott Honeycutt. Come on up, Scott.
Memorial. Good evening. I have two poems tonight. The first is a short lyric poem, and the second is a prose poem. So here it is. This is entitled Resurrection. Yesterday, I read about a man who awoke from death just as his embalmment was underway. As the formaldehyde needle pricked his skin, those eyes unlocked. No one was more surprised than the mortician robbed of honest work. Papers read, miracle and most true. Yet I wondered how the man felt, raising stiff legs to walk again and breathing in the stale air of the butcher's room. Charm's copper face must have grown slack when he realized that his paddles in their one-way wake must bend the inky waters and turn and travel back across the blank space toward the loud harbor moored there above. The second is a prose poem. You may have heard about this. It's a true story. On January 6, 2012, in Seminole County, Florida, a 3,500-year-old bald cypress known as the Senator was torched by a woman who was attempting to smoke methamphetamine inside of his trunk. This was a couple years ago. This is written from her perspective. So, there it is. The night it happened. Yes, I caused it to light up. When it comes to harming a thing, I suppose I was always one to go to it. But listen to me, it weren't done out of meanness. It was done out of my own disregard, my own attempt to flee from something into something else. It was the light that was all that was lacking, and I guess I gave it that, the light I need. And to tell you the truth, it sure was a lovely glow that old tree put up to the night stars. It looked like a chimney all stalked and heavy with timber, and it smelled like Christmas well into January. I kept muttering, that tree's older than Jesus, and only God knows its name. I first saw the Senator tree when I was 12 years old. I just moved to Seminole County, and my daddy took Susan and me over to see it one day after church. We ate chicken and slaw in the parking lot, and then walked over to it through the palmettos and brushy wiregrass. The grass tickled my legs, and Susan said, Sarah, this place looks like the garden. And I guess it did. Daddy, Sarah, and me was the only ones that attended, and after walking about 200 yards, I looked up and there it stood. Like an arrow quivered groundward, the tree didn't sway against the wind. It just parked its long bark body in the dirt and seemed to put up with all things in nature, like it knew wisdoms or histories or something. Anyway, Daddy told us that tree was called a bald cypress, and that God himself had planted its kind back among the cedars of Lebanon in the Bible, and that God had instructed Noah to build his ark out of gopher wood, which was what they called cypress trees back in the Bible days. And build it he did. The night it happened, I wasn't feeling right. These pipes get to you after a while, and my apartment was crowded with folks unkind and unknowing what it means to feel deeply. So I just slipped into the cool of the night, barefooted. I wasn't missed. My place is only about a mile from the Senator, and at first I didn't plan to go there. I just wanted to circle around, clear my head. But somehow my feet kept walking toward the park, step by step. They were determined. When I finally reached the old tree, I don't know why, but I just gazed and gazed on it. Even in the evening dark, the Senator was a black arrow that threw all shadows to it. This place is a lot older than Mickey Mouse and his kin, and something powerful like medicine reached out to me and pushed all the known Orlando back beyond light, beyond revenue. I wanted to get close, to get among it, to get in it. I lifted my legs over the chain link fence and crossed over toward it. I reached and touched the old thing, feeling my hands on its roughy bark.
After a minute had broken along the sides, I felt a cleft in the center, and the opening was narrow and deep, and without a word I squeezed in. Then a hunger came back to me there in the dark of the darkness. I could almost laugh now thinking about it. There in the belly of the senator, my own belly was letting me know that it was time to water my need. I took off my shirt and the black, and I folded it as neatly as I could on the dry ground. Next, I built a squire nest of twigs and wood stuff, and I lit matches. The whole pack went up. The kindling caught fast, and before I understood, the inside of the senator was aflame. Before I retreated from the heat, I looked up past my knees, my belly, past my breast, and smoking pipe up through the narrows of the tree. It looked all naughty and ghastly, filling up with the smoke. But the light, it pushed shadows from the interior of the tree, and all of time was swirling in my mind. There was the rush of myself a new state, and there was the power and the flame. I was the source and the nest. I was the night and the morning come too soon. And then I fled. So yes, I caused it to light up. When it comes to harming a thing, I suppose I was always one to go to it. But listen again to me. It weren't done out of meanness. It was done out of my own disregard, my own attempt to flee from something into something else. And it was the light that was all it was lacking. And I guess I gave it that, like I said, the light. And to tell you the truth, the honest, the blood-washed truth, it sure was a lovely glow that old tree put up to the night stars. It looked like a chimney all stocked and heavy with timber, and it smelled like Christmas well into January. I kept muttering, that tree's older than Jesus, and only God told me its name. Woo!
God, that was killer, man. That was awesome. That poor woman. That was a great piece. Great piece. All right. Well, we have one more to go unless anybody else wants to sign up. So let's all